Without him, we couldn't do this. Thank you, Richard. And then tonight there'll be an opportunity to write some questions down, and there'll be people going around so you can write questions. And it's Debbie Thomas. Where's Debbie? So you'll see her. Karen Williams again. Gail Beshalata. She's there in the back. Yolanda Mangley. Okay, and then Dave Cowley. So our schedule for tonight is a little different than what we were first planning, because things have happened. All right, and as you may be aware of, our County Treasurer John Perdonk had resigned, and we have a interim appointed treasurer, Mark Tom, who's here tonight. Mark, want to raise your hand? In the back. But we still felt it was important that you hear from the other candidate who's running for treasurer, and that's Raelyn Powers. So Raelyn will be up first, be about 15 minutes, and we'll have some questions that Dee-anna has prepared. And then after that, we're going to have the Nye County Commissioner District 5 debate, then our Nye County District Attorney, and then we'll finish up with the County Assessor. I also want to take this opportunity to thank some of the county commissioners that really helped make this possible. Bruce Jabbar from District 1 has made a generous donation that's basically paying for the rental. We have Deborah Strickland, who's provided the food for us tonight. Thank you, Deborah, who's here. And then next week, Commissioner Blundell is taking care of the food for us. So I want to thank the commissioners for stepping up to the plate and helping. All right, so if Raelyn is ready, and Dee-anna, are you ready? Let's do it.
Do you need me to shuffle cards to see who goes first?
Yeah. Each question. Raelyn and Zura.
All right. Do you want to have her do 1 minute, or I'm just going to, I'll just get
let her introduce herself, yep.
You want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raelyn Powers. Good evening. There?
This is a test.
I failed. Good evening, everyone. My name is Raelyn Powers. I will be a Nye County resident of 10 years coming this May. My grandparents brought me here. I'm very happy to be running as your Nye County Treasurer candidate and look forward to answering the questions this evening. Thank you.
All right, Raelyn, here's your very first question. Thanks so much for joining us, by the way. Can you tell us about your experience and what qualifies you to run for the position of Nye County Treasurer?
Absolutely. For the past 3 years, I've been managing the operations of our Nye County Treasurer's Department. I also have a background in accounting, finance, and auditing of 30 years experience. I also conducted bank reconciliations for the state of Alaska, Child Support Enforcement Division, and handled their operations as well.
Can you describe your leadership experience and leadership style?
Speak directly into the mic. I can't hear you.
Thanks, Mark. My leadership style is I like to educate and guide and teach individuals and share my knowledge and experience with them. I like to have fun. I think that if you don't have fun at your job, then it just becomes a very mundane, everyday thing that you do to go earn your paycheck. So I would say that guiding and educating and sharing my knowledge and experience would be my leadership style.
What management experience have you had in the past?
Well, my first position that I took out here in Nevada, I was the branch manager for Nevada Title and Payday Loans. So I managed that operation for 4 years, as well as their losses and receivables. I have a great letter of recommendation for my area manager. I also worked in the private sector for a plumbing and tinning crew and managed about 70 plumbers and tinners.
Can you describe your personal thoughts regarding character, ethics, and honesty?
I believe ethics, honesty, morale, all of that goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Sometimes you have to be brutally honest with individuals, even if you know that it might hurt their feelings or not be the information or the news that they want to hear. And I'm sorry, what was the first part?
Your personal thoughts regarding character, ethics, and honesty.
I think that also speaks to someone's character if they're able to share truth with individuals and audiences without being afraid of the consequences of those truths.
Can you describe all of the duties of the Nye County Treasurer's Office?
How much time do you have?
I think we have 15 minutes, but I've got 10 now.
There's a lot more to the Nye County Treasurer's Office than people realize. I will be the first one to admit, when I started with Nye County, I started in the finance department. I had little exposure to the Treasurer's Department. When I transferred over to the Treasurer's Department, my eyes were wide open. Not only do we handle 60,000 tax bills, which also equate to 60,000 tax payments, but we also have a party in payroll, a party in getting Nye County's vendors their payments for their services provided to us. We also receipt in all of the money that we receive for grants and the state C-tax money. We also handle the apportionments, which is our property tax payments that get apportioned to all the different funds that take care of Nye County. We handle fraud protection for the county. My goodness, my ladies are going to hit me upside the head because there's a lot more that I'm not listing here, but the duties are quite extensive.
Can you list some of the functions or operations of the Treasurer's Office that you would like to change or you disagree with?
That's a really good question. Right now we're still in the process of streamlining a lot of our processes and improving how we handle data, how quickly we're able to accommodate taxpayers' requests and payments. One of the things that we'd like to do is, because of COVID, we went to online auctions. We would like to take new properties and bring that back into a live auction so that our local investors can have first dibs on it. We would also like to have our entire department learn the processes and the duties that I handled and do handle as chief deputy, which include bank reconciliation, treasurer's report. We'd like to set up electronic payments for our vendors. Right now it's a live check. We don't have the functionality within our accounting system to submit electronic payments to all of our vendors that service us. Handling 300 checks every week is quite extensive, so we're hoping to be able to change that and bring our property tax bills in-house as well.
What's your experience with municipal investments? If you have no experience, how do you plan to ensure that the town and county's money yields the highest returns?
My experience was mostly in the private sector, which was many moons ago, so I do have a little bit of research and a little bit of refreshing to do. I do know that most of our investments are currently in money markets. Unfortunately, money markets do not hold a great return on value. I need to look at CDs and bonds and speak to our brokers to see where our investments would best benefit our county.
Hello?
Somebody wanted to ask you a question, they were calling in.
Denied.
What's your view on the treasurer's input when it comes to county investments, loans, purchases, and staffing?
Again, investments, I believe, need to be looked at greatly. I would want to speak to the brokers and reach out to some of my connections and better utilize our funds to invest in items that are solid and secure. Even if the return on investment is small, it's better than a loss. And I'm sorry, could you repeat the other two items?
What is your view on the treasurer's input when it comes to county investments, loans, purchases, and staffing?
Loans, I think, are really matter for our comptroller and our Board of County Commissioners to administer. And staffing, I believe all of the departments in Knight County actually need a little bit more staffing as the community grows, the needs grow, and the workload grow as well.
If faced with the task of reconciling a problematic account that you inherited, what would you do if you are at a standstill and cannot balance it?
Well, that's kind of what I did. When I entered into the Knight County Treasurer's Department, the bank reconciliation and treasurer's report had not been completed for over a year. There were approximately 200 line items on an Excel worksheet that had not been reconciled. I dove in, I researched those through our accounting software, identified the ones that were valid, and worked with our auditor to make sure that that was cleaned up and accounted for. And since that, our fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21 reconciliations and audits have been very accurate and spot on.
If you noticed a fellow employee or superior doing something unethical, would you report it, and how?
I think first step I would be to discuss it with that individual and give them the opportunity to admit it and report it themselves. If I didn't see any movement there, then I would, of course, follow up and report it to the authorities.
Concerning the current conflicts happening within the Treasurer's Office, how do you plan to ensure every employee is working in a safe, non-threatening environment where they can flourish?
I believe that begins with respect and communication, and of course having fun at our job, educating individuals, and not speaking down to individuals. I believe that we're all part of a team, and that we should all treat each other as one team.
How can you ensure that the Treasurer's Office completes all reports required by the NRS and that the county no longer has to worry about fiscal watch by the state?
That comes into my education and my experience and my skill set. We were successful in being removed from fiscal watch with electing me as your Knight County Treasurer. Regardless of a person's position in our department, they will understand and they will have the ability to compile those reports and take care of the department. This will never happen to Knight County again.
We've got 4 questions from the audience that kind of circle around the same thing, so I'm going to try to combine them. Were you fired from the Treasurer's Office under investigation or going through the termination process? And is it true that you're on leave due to an active investigation? Have you used the union and assessor office to hold a county position? And as rumors go, can you clarify why you have not been at the assessor's office? Are there 3 accounting operating systems in Knight County? I don't know that that is related to that. And then, are you aware of any conversation an employee in the Treasurer's Office and Knight County Commissioner to get rid of John Prudence prior to his resignation? I think that's all around the same area there.
That was a lot.
They're all about the same kind of situation.
Okay, so
I think we all are
First
aware.
off, Prudence did put in a request to immediately terminate me. The union is not a weapon. The union is my shield. This is a right-to-work state, and I'm very thankful for the union. The request to terminate me is unfounded and unjustified. There is an investigation being completed by our HR department. I have absolutely no doubt that the results of that investigation will be in my favor. I am not fired.
And then the only one that I think is different from those is the operating systems, 3 accounting operating systems.
I'm not quite certain where that came from. We have a software which is referred to as DevNet. That is a software system that is used by the assessor's department and my department. The assessors utilize it for all of the assessment values on the different types of taxes that they administer, and then our department uses that information to generate our tax bills and process our tax payments, our delinquent notices, and then we have our accounting software, which is Eden. It's a Tyler Technology product.
All right, and then this one says, were you employed by Nye County leading up to fiscal watch?
I was. I worked at the finance department from August 2016 through February 2019, and I transferred over to the treasurer's department in March of 2019 to assist with the bank reconciliations and to help us be removed from fiscal watch.
All right, I think that's all the questions I have that have come up so far.
You have 1 minute to your final remarks.
She has 30 seconds to rebut anything she says too.
And then if you call yourself out, you have 15 seconds to rebut that.
I do understand that there's a lot of concern with investigations being placed on me and others in our treasurer's department. I watched the debate with the sheriffs last week. I understand the public's concern and their need for knowledge and information. I hope that everybody understands that when you're being advised by union attorneys to withhold information at this time, that is something that I must do and I must respect that. Again, I assure you, the investigations are nothing more than malicious political antics, and the results of those investigations will be in my favor.
All right, if Dee-anna, you did a good job with those questions. That was different than what we originally planned, so I appreciate that. And just a friendly reminder, if you do have a phone, if you can please silence it. All right, the next debate we're going to have, just hit stop. That was a test to show you what happens. All right.
Your time is up.
My time is up. All right. It was a long time ago. It'll be District 5, the County Commission District, so if the candidates will come up to the table so we can get started.
Raelyn, we have a party gift right there for you. Joe has it. It's your nameplate.
Yes.
It's commissioners, right? Commissioners. And there's commissioners. All right, you can't look at my question.
Where would you like to sit?
Yes.
Okay. John, you want to give these to Dee-anna?
She did the cards for me.
Yep.
Wow. That was too easy. Did I get to write like ace, king, or queen on these?
Yes.
I don't
Go
know.
where you want us.
You sit wherever you like.
Well, this is interesting. We're going to spread out.
Spread out and move the chairs closer.
I know he said no. Yeah, I don't want to work for you. We're pretty spread out. Deborah, come here. Yeah.
You guys can sit next to each other as long as you don't punch each other.
I don't think we will. That's Michelle Fiore. That's not us.
No headache.
All right, so that you are familiar with the rules for tonight, I'm going to read it so don't forget to leave anything out. The Nye County GOP debate will be held in a formal debate style. Cursing is strictly prohibited. Any candidate cursing during the debate will be barred from participating in the remainder of the event. Time limits will be imposed, with a moderator to ensure all candidates adhere to these limits. Any candidates that refuse to cease speaking when directed to by the moderator will be given a warning. Recurring refusals will result in the candidate being asked to leave. Each candidate will be given 1 minute for an opening statement. Questions will be given to the entire panel of candidates. The order in which candidates are to answer will be randomly determined for each new question with the use of plain cards marked with each candidate's name. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. Once all candidates have answered a question, rebuttal follow-up will be allowed. Candidates will only have 30 seconds to rebut follow-up to a question. Candidates are prohibited from arguing with each other or interrupting the other candidate while they're speaking. An initial warning will be given, and a second infraction will result in the candidate or candidates being barred from the remainder of the event. Audience question. If time allows, questions from the audience will be asked, and we've already seen how that works. To ensure no unprofessional language remarks are directed at the candidates, all questions from the audience will be posted and read by Dee-anna. Questions can be directed to an individual candidate or the entire panel. The same time limits apply when responding to any audience questions. And then closing statements of 1 minute each will be taken at the end of the debate. So are you all ready? Let's have some fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn this thing on, Joe.
Make sure your mic's on.
Okay.
All right, Dee-anna, take it away.
All right, so I'm going to draw a card. What we've been doing is kind of rotating after we have the first question, so I'm just going to draw who's ever going to go first. All right. It is William Simpson. All right, here we go.
Opening statement.
Oh, yeah. You want to do opening statement first? Let's do that. William?
Hello. Good evening. My name is William Simpson. I have been a resident of Nye County since 2008, and I'm looking forward to moving forward with this debate. Don't really have too much more to say than that at the moment. Thank you.
My name is Dee Mounts, and I moved to Nye County in 2019. We went to Vegas 2005. We were running from California and wanted to be in a red state, and now we've got to fight to get it back. I was also a lead with Battleborn Patriots as well, and I want to be your commissioner in District 5, and you'll see one tonight. Thank you.
I'm Deborah Strickland. I'm currently your commissioner for District 5 and would love to have your vote moving forward. My history is practically all here. I've lived here for 49 years. I went to high school here, had the joy of being on the volleyball team, the basketball team, took state, won 32 games in a row. It was insane. Life in Pahrump is amazing. We're lucky to have all of us here. My family's here tonight. My husband of 28 years, my child, my son-in-law, my mom and dad. All two of them retired from the data test site. I spent time out there myself. I hope you all have a good evening, because we sure hope we do. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go for our first question, and I'm going to ask this one because I was kind of worried because we have a sitting commissioner, but you never know, and actually it's going to be her. Deborah Strickland, what professional background or experience do you have that qualifies you for the position of county commissioner here in Nye County?
First and foremost, I have been serving you, and I hope you like what you've seen. I've had 28 years of experience as a businesswoman working side by side with my husband. My issue that brought me here was water. I became a county commissioner because of the fight over water. And that's exactly what it is. Whiskey's for drinking and water is for fighting. So that's why I'm here. I hope we can do more as we move forward with this water situation. But I come with a ton of background because I've been working with the building department, the planning department all these years. I've been just right here, guys. What you see is what you get. I'm not going anywhere, and I hope that you can realize that I'm the businesswoman you need here. Thank you.
Thank you. And William, you're next. What professional background or experience do you have that qualifies you for the position of commissioner here in Nye County?
Well, first of all, I am not a political person. This is my first attempt at running for an office. Basically, my background has been management. I've been a security director for a hotel in Las Vegas for many years. My current position and past position have been with law firms. I have done extensive work with Las Vegas law firms and a law firm up here. I am an investigator, have been an investigator for several years. I believe I can get to the heart of most of the issues and the problems are here. I am used to reading the law. I am used to interpreting the law, and I have been assisted by the different attorneys that I have worked for. I'm a new person here. I think there's time for a change. I think this is the right year for a change, and we've got issues and problems.
We're trying up here. My experiences and why I'm qualified for this is I've been a business owner for over 30 years, small businesses and manufacturing and retail as well. I have been a leader and a director of Battleborn Patriots, which is a statewide group that we fight for people's rights and in our own counties. And I want to take all of my political activist work that I did, which was the solar farms, opening up nine counties while Sisolak shut us down, getting rid of the mandates, the masks, the vaccines, and the passports, and then helping small business here and making sure that we're protecting our economy. Nobody's going to take care of our economy but ourselves.
All right, does anybody have any rebuttals? We have 30 seconds. Okay, we're going to go to question number 2. All right, that's Deborah again. Say on. All right. All right, can you talk about some of the goals for the Office of Nye County Commissioner?
The goals of the office, of course, our business as commissioners is to run the county. We're basically CEOs. We oversee the budget. We set policies and procedures, ordinances. We ask that things get done as fast as possible with our staff assisting us. Our goals are always to provide the highest level of service that we can. And sometimes we struggle because the money is not there. We could spend $80 million on roads if we had it. This is a big county. We need more money every single day, but we don't want to tax you to death. All of us have to pay taxes. That's just part of it, and death, of course, but oh well. This is the goals of Nye County, is to serve you. Our goals as commissioners is to do the best with the resources we have, and it is challenging. Thank you.
All right, William.
I would agree. I would agree that we are basically the CEOs of the county. We are, I say we, but the commissioners are responsible for all of the budgets and making sure that everything has been accounted for and planned for. We have issues here at the present time with the budgets and what have you. What I don't see here going on at the present time is transparency. There are things that are occurring that I don't think most citizens are aware of. These are some of the things that I would like to get more in-depth information and bring those to the county and to the people. We are to represent everyone, not just a specific few people. And I would hope that electing me to the commission, we can try to get some of those things straightened out.
All right, Dee.
Can you repeat it, Dee-anna?
Yes. What are some of your goals for the Office of Nye County Commissioner?
Okay, my goal is this. I am a constitutional conservative, and I want to see, because there has been a couple people on our commission that does not vote alongside the oath that they took, that this Constitution will definitely be in every vote that I have for everyone in this county. That's number one. Number two is to kind of clean it out a little bit, see where we can take care of some money that is being spent wrong or something like that. We need to get it together and do our favorite things in life, which are roads, which are senior services, things like that.
All right, does anybody have a rebuttal? You get 30 seconds. Anybody? Nope. Okay. Okay, the next one. I really hate picking these cards because I'm afraid I'm going to keep picking Deborah, and that's going to seem weird and awkward. Okay. Oh, gosh. William Simpson. All right, here we go. You guys should do this for me. All right, here we go. Concerning the Nye County budget, what are some of the things that you would like to cut from the budget or see added to the budget?
There are several things out there that need to be added to the budget. I'm not too sure how we get it done, but there needs to be some budget issues with regards to the schools. Education is a priority. We need to see some things added to the budget with regard to law enforcement. I'm a firm believer in law enforcement. I think at the present time they can use more money. Of course, they can always use more money, but we need to be able to regulate how that's being spent. I'm not too sure that I could answer the question of what needs to be cut from the budget. We always seem to be asking for more. That would be about it.
I would like to see law enforcement as well get a raise. I think our law enforcement does a very good job and they're underpaid. That's the number one thing. I also would like to look at employee salaries. Some people are paid way too much. People that even live in Nye County have never even seen that kind of money. And some people actually do get salaries like that. That would have to be definitely a priority. Law enforcement and looking at all the employees and the contracts. Thank you.
The biggest thing I wish we could add when it comes to our budget, we have something that's called PILTS money. That's property tax in lieu of, that is paid by the federal government to us for the lands that we can't tax because they're not privately held lands. So can you imagine that 86% of the lands is owned by the federal government in one form or another? We also, 98% are we're not even allowed to tax. So we run the county on 2% and manage the third largest county in the United States. Can you even imagine that? So that's the roads issue that we talked about. Well, PILTS is the figure that they use and they base it on population. So if you're less than 50,000, you get this much money. Well, our PILTS payment is $3.1 million, the last one. Since we got our new census, it's going to come up, but we haven't realized what that's going to be yet. That's what I would add. I don't know what I would cut because we always need more. Thank you.
Does anybody have any rebuttals? Nope. All right. Recently, we've seen, especially one county commissioner, talk about the people in the audience that are at the county commission meetings and taking into account that these people are not all of their constituents. How much would you be influenced in your voting or even personal opinions by the public that regularly attends these BOCC meetings? And I will go with Deborah. Okay, John, can you get these one?
Okay, so I think what you're asking is how is the public influencing us, and is it possible that if they're not Republicans, we're sitting here as Republicans, that they're influencing us? I think that's what you're asking. And I would have to say very much so. I don't know. In fact, I would love it if this was nonpartisan, to tell you the truth, this particular seat. Because we are asked to represent everyone. And it's hard for you to imagine that, we are here being helped by the Republican Party, but we help the Democrats too, guys. This is one big county, and so that, I think, is what you were after, but I'm unsure. Thank you.
William.
As a commissioner, we are responsible for all of the citizens of the county, whether they be Democrat, whether they be Republican, liberal, whatever the case may be. Just because you come to the County Board of Commissioners meetings and you're a regular attendee, I do not feel that that has any sway as to how we should be conducting business. I do know that I've spoken to many people so far that have complained that some commissioners will not engage in a conversation with them because they are, in fact, not a Republican. I don't think this is correct, and if elected, I am the representative of all of the people of Nye County and including District 5.
Well, I've always worked, Battleborn Patriots is a nonpartisan organization. So we worked with Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, Republicans, you name it. We helped them. It doesn't matter what party you're at. It doesn't matter if you show up and your attendance is great on the, for the commissioner meetings or anything like that. What matters is what your constituents and what the residents want. That is it, and that is all. And no one's gonna just take me away from that decision. Thank you.
Does anybody have a rebuttal? All right, the next question kind of goes along with that. How would you reach out to, or would you reach out to other constituents who cannot attend the meetings to ensure that you hear their voice? Deborah again. Sorry, let's do this. Deborah, how would you reach out, or would you reach out to other constituents to ensure that they have their voice heard as well?
I don't know about you, but when I go to the grocery store, it's an event. That's when I see so many people. It's so much fun. Standing in those lines, picking out your fruits and vegetables, you get in those conversations, and that's community. That's what we have here, a very, very tight community of people. And we are interacting all the time as commissioners with everyone because we're so accessible. It's just part of what we do. So, yeah, constituent outreach is easy. Just go to the store.
We all hang out at Walmart. William.
Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to meet with a lot of people at the grocery store because I'm not a commissioner yet. But I have had the opportunity to meet with many people who I'm engaged with on a daily basis. I think the one-on-one is probably the best. However, when you start getting out into the rural areas, it becomes much more difficult. This is a we issue. This is not a me issue of my trying to go out to reach them. It is also your issue to try to reach out to us and to contact us. If we don't hear from you, we don't know. We do have to make the attempt, though, to get out there. I would hope, as new commissioner, that I would be able to engage in more and more people on a daily basis. But at the moment, I've met the people at the shows. I've had some private meetings with people. I've engaged with some committees and what have you. And so far, it's been a very good communication. Hopefully, this will continue. And in doing so, maybe we'll get to meet all the people.
Well, I'm proposing as a commissioner that we have 4 town halls per year. That's number one. I want residents involved. It takes all of us to change. And somebody very close to me told me the only thing see, now I can't remember the quote. The only thing that is needed is change. Change is actually the only thing that changes. I didn't say it very right. Good, so I'm sorry. But yeah, town halls. I have my phone number is published. Everybody has my phone number, so they text me, they call me with any kind of situation. It's almost like I'm a commissioner already. So I want to stay in communication with everybody, not only my district, but everybody in Nye County.
Does anybody have any rebuttals? All right, we're going to go to the next question. Hopefully it's not Deborah. Okay. All right, the next person is, better not be. Okay, somebody else needs to draw these cards. So I can't handle this anymore. All right, so how would you go about, or how do you go about, conducting your research and preparation when it comes to an agenda item for discussion, deliberation, and decision? We're talking about open meeting law violations, not discussing things with other commissioners. How do you go about your research or preparation for agenda items?
Well, fortunately, our chair has decided that every one of us commissioners get the draft. So we see it straight up right away when he sees it. And at that point, we can start getting a hold of staff and constituents that might have an interest in that particular item or a specialty in that particular item. Because believe me, you cannot any way possible know everything that's out there in Nye County. So you reach out. You reach out to those that would have an interest or knowledge in any of those areas. And if you don't know someone, you reach out to staff. And you go, staff, okay, so why are we here? Why are we hearing this item? What's the background? And they give you everything that brought us to this point, because the backup may not be quite as complete, and we may be adding backup after we've talked to a constituent or staffer. So it's important that you get right on that agenda. We get them early. We don't meet till Tuesday. That gives us Monday to do the final stuff that we've talked to people about over the weekend. So it's a good system. Thanks.
William. William? Williamson.
There are many of things that are available within the county government itself that can provide an awful lot of information. But also there's a lot of things out there that the citizens themselves are having questions and concerns about. There are multiple places to get this information, and if we don't have the information, then possibly there needs to be something set up so that we can get that and provide what's necessary. Not being a commissioner at the present time, I'm not privy to all of the information that's available. I can tell you though that my background allows me and will allow me to get into those areas and find the information that's necessary and bring it forth. If we have questions, there are places that I know that we can go to get those questions answered. They may not be the right answer, but there'll be an answer, and if it's not correct, then we go back and do some more research and get it. But there are many sources out there, not only within government, but within the community itself.
Well, what I've done, not as a commissioner, but as a constituent, is I read all the backup on when the agenda comes out. I know that with open meeting law, you can only talk to one other commissioner, so there's 2 commissioners without violating open meeting law. So that's what I would do. Of course, I would absolutely ask staff to help as well, since they're the ones doing all the work, and go from there. Thanks.
Okay. Or does anybody have any rebuttals? All right. How important is it? Who's it?
Ms. Mounts.
See, I told you when somebody else does it. All right, it's going to go to D-Max. All right. How important is it for you to support an agenda item that another commissioner has brought forward? And would you speak up against a fellow commissioner regarding the agenda item, even if it may cause friction between you?
Okay, well that's kind of hypothetical for me. So, now, I mean, if I was against it because of it wasn't constitutional, or if I was against it because I don't think the majority of Nye County will benefit from it, then I would definitely talk to a commissioner about that. in person, face to face, and say, hey, can you change it around or something? Rewrite it, re-agendize it, something to where everyone is going to benefit, not just a few people. Oh, and my statement was, no, never mind.
That's her statement, no, never mind.
Yes, you can get heated debate going on up there, but you have to respect, because you need to work with that fellow commissioner moving forward through the course of your term. And yes, you'd like to see them support your items, and you'd like to be able to support their items, but if it's not good, you fight to the death. You do not let that thing go forward. You argue until you're blue in the face, and you hope that your fellow commissioners will listen to you, because there's 5 of us, and it takes 3 for something to move forward. So, thank you.
I personally have no issue in saying no to a vote that the constituents that I've met with and have spoken with have an issue with. I'm here to represent the people, not my own interests, not the interest of the other commissioners. So I'm here for you. And if that vote requires me at that point in time to say no, then possibly we can revisit it, table it, bring it back later, do something. But I think saying no is probably one of the biggest things that we don't have. Everybody gets into lockstep, and it becomes a vote of 5-0. Many times that's good, sometimes it's not good. The times that it's not good, I would like to feel that it's the people that have come to me and said, no, they're against this, or whatever the case may be. I do not want to be that person that makes a unilateral decision because it's asked for or to be, when the constituents that I have to meet after that committee meeting are all upset.
Is there any rebuttals? All right. How would you approach an agenda item or a vote during a meeting if there was a conflict of interest or have the appearance of impropriety, even if you disagree?
Mr. Simpson.
Conflicts of interest are a major concern. Fortunately for me, I do not own a business here in town, so I don't have that concern. When these issues do come up, you should be, by law, notifying everybody that you're going to have to not be able to vote on this because it is a conflict. I go to the commissioners' meetings, I've been going to more and more, and I continuously see issues that are a conflict. These are ethics violations, whether or not anybody does anything about them or not. But yes, people need to recuse themselves from the vote. And if they don't recuse themselves from the vote and there is a clear line of conflict, then I think it needs to be reported, and we'll just move from there.
Conflict of interest, that's been a problem for at least 4 years. My opponent is a broker of water rights, number 1. Also a well drilling company, number 2, and a construction company from her husband and everything. And I don't remember ever seeing Commissioner Strickland recusing herself from that. So I remember her doing it once, and that was because a friend was trying to get voted in for planning or something like that. I think that I don't have business, I'm retired, and it wasn't by choice, but it was because of 2 car accidents, so I just retired. We moved here from Las Vegas, and I don't want any conflict of interest. I don't have anything, I don't own a business anymore. My interests are the residents, my interests are the voters in this county, and making sure that we get the best representation no matter what.
Deborah?
All right, so when you get into the ethics world, it's real simple. You disclose, you abstain, if you have a pecuniary interest, the last thing that you want as a community is for someone that comes with knowledge to not bring that knowledge to the table. What you really want is someone that actually knows the subject matter and can help you be heard so you get what you need. And so when it comes to ethics, the most important thing you need to do is always keep in mind whether or not you are having a gain, a pecuniary gain. That's what they teach us with ethics. If it's not, all you're doing is knowledge-based. And so I'll end with that statement, and yes, I do have a rebuttal. Thank you. All right, so yes, I am a contractor, been that for 28 years. Yes, I do broker water rights because people need water rights to drill wells. I'm also the first one that signed up as the Prompt Fair Water. There were 8 of us that started that. $80,000 later, fighting the state of Nevada so you didn't have to buy water rights. That's me. Yes, there's no special interest going on here. I came to this fight. Remember? Whiskey and water.
Okay. Our next question. Anybody else have a rebuttal? There you go.
I agree with Deborah. Knowledge is everything. However, what we have seen is the water board was fired in one fell swoop. And she was a liaison, and she said she was even embarrassed by it. So I think that new ideas, new people that can come in here and help the actual constituents with actual ideas from your constituents, from the residents, people that know Nye County, and that will give you this respect.
Thank you, Ms. Mounts. That's your time.
And Deborah, did you get a 15-second rebuttal?
Real simple. 5 commissioners voted to get rid of that water board. There must have been a doggone good reason. We just reformed it. So there you go.
All right, our next question. If you noticed, witnessed, or suspected a fellow employee or commissioner doing something unethical, would you report it?
Mr. Simpson.
It's one thing to be unethical, and it's another thing that it be unlawful or illegal. If it's unethical, yes, I would bring it to the attention of that particular board member and hope that that would resolve the issue. If it doesn't, then no, I would have no problems reporting that ethics violation to the state.
Dee?
Well, first I would talk to the person who is being unethical. Absolutely. Talk it out with them. If they didn't see their errors of their ways, then definitely you take it to the right authorities and get it taken care of. But I'm not one to hide everybody's faults either. Thank you.
Deborah?
All of what the other candidates have said, and also remember this. The ethics board is not a whipping post. That's not where you go to resolve items unless it's a major concern. Is there something here that is of a major concern, or is it just an infraction? Because infractions can be fixed. You can go back and revote, rehear. You can do a lot of things to make sure that your fellow commissioner does not give the appearance of an ethics violation. And believe me, we don't want any of our boards, whether they be our committees, because there's a lot of them, there's over 20 of them, that are trying to do the business of the county and the townships. And ethics is everything. You need to keep all of your ducks in a row. You don't need to be walking outside of a line that would actually concern another citizen or another commissioner. Thank you.
Is there any rebuttals? All right, our next question. How would you respond to a special interest group approaching you to try to sway your vote?
Commissioner Strickland.
There is no way. Okay, so don't get me wrong, I'm going to listen to everything that everyone has to say. That's the job. You know, they bring you their special interest and they say, hey, I would like to move forward with something. Well, unless it's good for you guys, it's not going to happen. It's just not what we do. Our job is to look out for you guys. What can't be bought? You guys hear that statement before? You know, that's where I sit. I can't be bought. I'm not interested in your special interest if it's not in the special interest of the people. Thank you.
William?
I would basically agree with that. I mean, special interests are by nature a special interest. I certainly want to hear what their interest is and how they feel that in their mind it's not a special interest. But no, again, everything that we have to do for the people. And if it's not good for the people, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make financial sense, then no, at least I've heard it. File it away, and hopefully they don't come back with some kind of a revision, but they've had one shot, and I'll listen to it the first time, and that's all.
This is what happened to special interest. You should see the other guy. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to ask you about that.
No, special interests are not friends of voters or residents or even commissions. They're out for one thing, and that's money, and it doesn't matter what we have to go through for them to get paid. So no, I don't work with special interests ever.
Is there any rebuttals? Okay, I have some questions from the audience and some emailed in. Let's go with, as commissioner, what changes in policy will you advance that changes the view by the public and media of the corruption in Nye County?
Can you do that again?
As commissioner, what changes in policy will you advance that changes the view by the public and media regarding corruption in Nye County?
Commissioner Strickland.
Geez, I just don't even know. Okay, so the question posed was, what policy would you put in place so that corruption could be maybe unveiled? I'm lost. Okay, so corruption in Nye County. What are we talking about here? Where's our corruption line? If it's not already being looked at by the sheriff's department, the DA, those are our hot dogs. Those are the ones who know where the dirt is. They're the ones who do that for a living. Sorry, I don't have the talent to put a policy together to deal with corruption. Thank you.
And Bill?
If we have corruption, and I'm not saying we don't, we already have laws in place to protect us from those. Whether they're enforced or not is an entirely different issue. But we have a district attorney who can bring charges. We have the sheriff's office who can do their investigations and go out and find this corruption and report it accordingly. But I don't see where the commission can put a policy that would supersede state NRSs or anything else. I don't think that's within our purview.
Dee?
I agree. I think the commission probably doesn't have anything to do with a policy change for corruption. I think we need to leave that to our sheriff's department and our DA's office especially to bring any kind of charges forward. As you know, corruption is the #1 word when it comes to talking about politics. It doesn't even matter if they know what they're talking about. Oh, they're corrupt or this, that. And so it's very difficult to make a policy change when a lot of people are actually just responding to rumors and not having the facts. So if they have the facts, then let our law enforcement take care of it.
All right, is there any good buttons? Are we done? We got it wrong. Okay, we're going to continue questions from the audience and emailed ones. Considering the BOCC's recent and sudden decision to return Nye County animal shelter operations to the county, do you believe that the current BOCC handled the situation appropriately Please explain your answer. What, if anything, as a commissioner, would you have done differently?
Ms. Mounts.
Well, I agree with what the commissioners did on that day of taking back the shelter. What I would have done differently as I watched the tape over and over again was to make sure that the people speaking at the dais kept saying that it was a kill shelter, and the commissioners never said it was a kill shelter. So I would actually have a conversation going on and making sure a statement of some type saying that we are not a kill shelter, we will not be killing any animals for the fun of it or anything like that. And given the clause that's in that agreement as well, there's a special clause in there for euthanization. So I would communicate. That's what I would do differently.
Deborah?
Yeah, we took that shelter back. We're opening a brand new shelter. So sitting as Board of County Commissioners, we decided that the best course of action is to operate it, so we actually know how to write the policies and procedures. Imagine that. So that's what we're doing. We've never had anything this nice. I think we actually build better animal shelters than we do house our own personnel, to tell you the truth. And that's fact. That's a nice shelter right there. So what I would have done different, I would agree with Ms. Mounts that, it was very apparent that the uproar was in the fact that they thought that this was going to become a kill shelter. We never said such a thing, and that is not our intent. Matter of fact, we're going to have space for twice as many animals. So where that came from is beyond me. Thank you.
William?
I disagree with the board on this. I was always taught that we were not to have more government. We're adding more government now by having the county take us over, which means we're going to have county employees, we're going to have PERS, we're going to have all these other issues that are out there. This particular shelter has been run by private organizations. We can argue whether they did a good job or a bad job, but at the end of the day, we could fund the shelter with more money. They get a limited amount of money. There isn't quite enough. But if we allow the county to take this over, we've just added more government. We don't need more government. We need less government. And we can put this out for bid, as we have done before. It can be regulated, it can be overseen, it can be controlled. It's going to be a nice shelter, but at the end of the day, less is more. We don't need more government.
All right, is there any rebuttals? Okay, we have a couple of questions about unions, and this one has kind of two questions. Are you for or against unions? How do you plan to work with the unions that exist in the county?
Mr. Simpson.
This is a double-edged sword. Unions are good, and unions can be bad. The union that we currently have here basically, I think, functions relatively well. Concerns I have with the union is this, and I think we should all be concerned. If we have an employee who is substandard, and then we have an employee who is above standards, and they're both guaranteed the same pay raise because of a union contract, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. I don't think we should be paying people just because they belong to a union and they have put in their rights. I think the contracts that we have going forward for the County Board of Commissioners, they need to go into arbitration. Just because the union wants this, the county board looks at it, and they're either don't want to take the time or the effort or whatever, I think those things need to go into an arbitration process, and let's get a review. There are things in the union that are working and they should work. Technically, I'm not against the union, but I really would like to see a better, fair union. We're paying the taxes on this. This is our money.
Dee? Where was I? All right. Are you for or against unions? How do you plan to work with the unions that exist in the county?
Unions are so sticky. How do I work with the unions and members of the union? I'd have an open communication. That's the only way to actually know what they want, what they're working for, or maybe if they're doing a bad job, you could tell them that. Just, if you want your contract to be better, then you have to do A, B, C, and D. That's, to me, is the fairest way, and I don't even believe life is fair, but that's the fairest way to deal with unions in Nye County.
Well, we've been working on negotiations with unions since I came on board, and my idea of a union was, contractor, right? Unions is where you call out someone, let's say an apprentice plumber or electrician or whatever. I never even realized that unions existed for administrative staff, for instance. Now that I'm in this game, I can see why it needs to exist, and I am for unions and have negotiated with unions. Just recently, we negotiated with our unions to not have insurance paid by the county when they're Medicare eligible. Once they become Medicare eligible, why are we paying for their insurance? So we made that change with the union. We just recently upped the pay of the deputies, and you're like, oh, more government, more pay. Well, the fact is, we became the training grounds here in Nye County for deputies, and they get trained here and they go someplace else. So, we're doing a good job, and I hope that we can continue. Thanks.
Is there any rebuttals? Rebutters? All right. This one was actually for William directly, but we're going to ask all the candidates. You spoke about more transparency. Where do we need to be more transparent? Be specific. And we'll have all the candidates answer.
Well, the question was directed to Mr. Simpson. We'll start with him.
I think transparency means exactly what it is. You need to be able to understand and be able to see what everyone and everything is being done. Too many things within the County Board of Commissioners, some of them I understand and agree with when we're dealing with HR issues and what have you, those aren't transparent to the public. Those need to be kept within a closed session. But transparency on how these things are made, how do we come to these decisions? I find going into the commissioners' meetings a lot of times that decisions have already been made. Don't know how they arrived at this, who did what was discussed, was it even discussed? That's not transparency. I think we all need to know, the citizens need to know that the reason this was done or not done is because. And we need to understand because. That's transparency. I don't think we have it. I think we need more of it.
I'm gonna say some things that the voters have told me. And transparency, they really want it in the sheriff's department. As you know, we support our sheriff's department and everything, but there's some things going on in there that aren't transparent. So that would be one of the areas. And then the commissioners, they can change a vote in the middle of the night. So if they do that, it would be nice to have a statement stating why they changed the vote and how it's going to affect people. But other than that, I don't know the other departments. Obviously, the finance department needs some transparency. So, but anything that needs it needs to be done.
Well, this transparency issue, I've heard some concerns that my fellow candidates are hearing from voters. And I got to tell you something, I don't even talk to the other commissioners. So I don't know how we're changing votes or how it looks like we're coming to decisions other than through our research. I don't very, very rarely, because I can only talk to one, right? And normally you'd really love to talk to the commissioner that brought the item forward, but he's probably already talked to somebody else. So I just find out everything I can around that. And I've got like 5 days to get that done. I realize there's 40 plus items on the agenda, but you'd be surprised how often they're repetitive, and we've heard of before, earlier in the year, earlier. So I'm disappointed that there's an appearance of not being transparent, because that is certainly not our intention. We are talking to each other for the first time when we're sitting up there, and it gets awkward, believe me. Thank you.
Is there any rebuttals? All right, so let's go with, what do you think the biggest issue that is facing Nye County right now? What do you think that the biggest issue that is facing Nye County right now?
Commissioner Strickland.
Absolutely no doubt the Treasurer's Department right now. This has been a blow to us. We are struggling now. We had a budgetary meeting on Wednesday. We had our standard Board of County Commissioner meeting. It's first and third Tuesday. Well, then we sat down to do our budget. We couldn't even tell you how much money we're supposed to be getting. Seriously. That's going to be done by next week. But we need to know what that budget's going to be moving forward. So very disappointing that we have basically been abandoned by our past treasurer. And so I'm sorry, but that's a big problem. Thank you.
I don't know that I could rank 1, 2, or 3 for the biggest concerns. There are several, but the immediate concern, I would agree with Ms. Strickland. If we don't get this budget under control, get these things figured out, then everything else kind of falls by the wayside. So at the moment, as we sit here, the budget is probably the largest issue that I would have.
Dee?
I agree with both of them. However, I'm going to say this. I think water is our #1 problem. No matter what is happening with people quitting or that kind of thing, we need to make sure that we are respectful of our aquifer. So saying that, I just want you to know, as a commissioner, the first thing I'm going to do is audit the water. We need to know how much we have, how much we can build, and how much we cannot build. And that would be the benefit of the entire county. It doesn't matter about what party you are or anything. It's just every human being in Nye County that can actually associate themselves with water.
I know everybody connected that with meter and wells right away. I know what you guys were thinking. All right. Is there any rebuttals? Do you want to go through? Okay. All right. What would be your plan for the future growth, or your vision for the future growth of the Valley or Nye County?
Mr. Simpson.
Well, I think I'll pick up where Ms. Dee's left off. Water is the primary concern. We talk about wanting to bring infrastructure into the city. We want to bring industry. We want to bring these things in here. The last time I read a report was 2017. We did a water study. I think at the end of the water study, there was never a decision made. How much do we have? How much don't we have? But there is water. When I first moved here, I was told we had the largest aquifer in the state. Then I've also heard we don't have any water. My concern for growth is if we have water, and I think we need to commission a new study. Let's get an answer as to what we do or do not have. If we have water, then I think we can move ahead with these things. If we don't have water, then we need to preserve the water that we have, and I think we need to restrict the building. I think we need to restrict a lot of this growth. I'm all for growth, controlled growth, but if we don't have the water, I don't want anybody else coming in here. I need to protect the water that we currently have for everyone who's here now.
Dee?
The changes I would do, obviously the water, auditing the water. I'd also like to build on our healthcare here in Nye County and Pahrump especially. We need more services for everyone, especially our senior services. We need to get into the pants that are going to take care of the residents, that are going to take care of the voters. So doing that, of course, I talked about the town hall meetings and stuff. I want voters to know what we're doing. I want voters to be educated on how it works. I've done this so many times in the last 3 years of being in Nye County that I've taught lots of people what the politics are and how it works. So it's really good. So we need to grow, but we don't need to be Vegas at all. I'm not a progressive person at all. We are not Vegas. We don't want to be Vegas. We don't want incorporation. That's what everybody is talking about, and I absolutely agree 100%.
Well, the plans for our future will have to include building, because believe it or not, that's how we pay for more stuff. And in doing that, we need to control it and put a good handle on it. You know, you all have heard about purple water. You know, that's where you recycle water and use it over and over and over. We're doing lots of those systems currently within the valley with our current utility companies that exist. And there was a study, and yes, we need to update that study, but that was the groundwater management plan that was done in 2015. And we still measure all of these wells. We have someone, Mr. Klinke, goes around and measures all these water wells to see what they're doing, and the water's going up 15 foot on the fan, it's going down 15 foot, 1 foot per year. And what we need to do different is being looked at by the Central Nevada Water Authority, where I'm your representative there, in banking water. That use it or lose it policy is just pure BS. I can't even believe it. So if we can bank our water, we don't have to flush it out on the ground and waste it. Thank you.
Okay. A question from the audience. Any rebuttals? All right. How would you work to get the county clerk to work with the commission and district attorney to make Nye County use paper ballots, hand count for all elections?
Ms. Mounts.
It says, how would you work to get the county clerk to work with the commissioners and DA to make Nye County use paper ballots and hand count for all elections?
Well, I only saw part of that meeting, but I think we went to paper ballots, even though my concern was the county clerk stated that it's federal law that we have a Dominion machine in the room, and I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't check it out, but how would you get them to work? Open your mouth and start talking. Communication is key to all of this. It's not just your elected officials, but it's also to the residents.
Deborah?
That item that went forward, the Board of County Commissioners, I brought that item. I was the one who's asked the clerk to go to paper ballots. But all we could do as Board of County Commissioners is ask because she's an elect. We have to respect that. We have no choice there. Can't make that happen. But we have the future ahead of us that perhaps she'll consider paper for the general election. That's disappointing because a lot of stuff is done in Nye County in the primaries because we have a lot of Republicans, so there's an elimination right off the bat. This paper ballot issue, you should have seen those. They're so nice. You can actually look at it has a bar, one of those codes you scan, and you can look and make sure your vote was cast correctly. It's unbelievable. It's watermarked. It's so many things. I think that paper ballots are in the future for Nye County.
If I remember the question correctly, is how do we work with the commission and the clerk? to get this accomplished. This requires a dialogue, it's not a monologue. We need to work with them. We need to sit down together to try to figure out what is the best way for this to move forward. I don't have an answer for this. I'll be very honest. There are still a lot of questions out there for me, how to make it work, but if this is the way it's going to be, then we need to work with the clerk. Clerk needs to work with us, and between us, we'll probably get it figured out, but I don't have an actual solution for it.
Yeah, we're going already.
Okay. Is there any rebuttals? I'm sorry, I fell asleep. No, I was trying to combine a bunch of questions together, trying to figure out a better way to answer them. We've got a couple of questions about the water status, so I'm trying to word them so they can be combined. All right, so directly they were asking Deborah Strickland, but I think I've combined it enough so you guys can all answer this. The current status of water here in Nye County, I believe that you've pretty much answered most of that if you want to expand on it. And the person is talking about use it or lose it not being a problem because it was changed by the Assembly 4 years ago. And if that is still a problem, would you really push forward to enact getting rid of use it or lose it?
Okay, legislature comes in session every 2 years, and we get what's called BDRs, Bill Draft. And the Central Nevada Water Authority is going to bring one forward that's going to be a true banking system so that someone that owns water rights can put them in a bank and not have to use them. See, you have to prove up on water rights. And to prove up on water rights, you have to make that meter turn. You know that big bad meter everybody talks about? You got to make that meter turn so it shows how much water you're using. So say you have 10 acre-feet of water. An acre-foot of water, imagine, is 1 foot high, 1 acre square. So you have 10 acre-feet of water. That's 1 acre of water is 325,000 gallons. That's a lot of water. So bank it. That would be amazing. If we could just stop pumping it unnecessarily. You want to build a crop and do that? That's just great. But our recharge, according to DWR, is 20,000 acre-feet annually. And we've allocated over 30,000 acre-feet in the valley floor. So that's a problem. I say our recharge is greater than that, and I'd like to prove it.
William? I know it's a couple parts question, but basically it boils down to use it or lose it. How would you kind of change that, or would you change that?
Basically, I've got a concern with that. I mean, we buy a house or whatever, and the land it sits on, everything that's under the ground belongs to us. Why are we regulating this? Again, I come back to the basic issue. Do we have enough water or not? We need to get this commission to figure out what's going on here. But if I buy a house out in Armagosa, I don't want to be told that I've got to put a cap on this and only use X number of gallons of water on a per month basis. That's my water. I'm willing to share, but I'm not willing to have the government come in here and tell me what I need to do with what is naturally mine. I own, it's beneath my house.
Dee?
Again, residents talking about their concerns. This is number one. So, like I said, I want to audit the water. You can't even answer these hypothetical questions because you don't know how much water we have. You know, if we're going to bring industry here, we're going to have to use water, not only for building the businesses, but for building homes to house these people. So, I don't think I could answer that just yet. If we have enough water, then, you know, sure.
Okay. Is there any rebuttals? Anything? Okay. I'm going to go to this question. It says, BOCC meetings are long, drawn-out productions that require interested residents to sacrifice an entire day to be able to express their 3 minutes of opinion and or concerns. Prospective attendees have no idea when a particular agenda item is going to be called, and many people do not come to the meetings because they cannot afford to take a day off work. As a result, many residents feel disenfranchised because of the current meeting procedures. As a commissioner, what changes do you think could be implemented to increase resident participation and attendance at BOCC meetings?
Ms. Mounts.
Well, I've actually been an advocate for this in commission meetings. Number one, the phone line, I know it's expensive, but these people, we have so many disabled or older people that can't drive, people at work that could call in from their phone. I like the phone system, that's the way it should be, if people can't actually physically be there. Physical people, the actual voters, to actually go up to the microphone and talk to the commissioners about what is bothering them, what needs to be fixed, or anything else on their property, or if you have a bad neighbor, they do it all. So my whole thing is communication. My whole thing is talk to the people afterwards, after the meetings, or take the calls and the emails, respond to them. That hasn't been happening, so that's what I would do.
Deborah.
I'm hoping that the board will choose to keep the exact phone system that we have implemented. You can dial in and make your issues heard. Unfortunately, we have to do the meetings during the day because they're quite long. I don't know that any of us would be able to stay up, even you, as long as if we started the meetings at night. But taking the larger constituents items, if you see a group that's in the audience that has a special item they want to hear, that's what we try to do. And so I'm hoping that's working out, because it can be difficult to sit there and wait for an item. But I went to Board of County Commissioners meetings for 5 years before I ever became a commissioner. I just thought it was interesting. I know, odd person, but that's what I did. And so we have people that are passionate about those meetings that show up every time. So it's the job, it's how it has to be done. Thank you.
I'm not too sure at the present time, after being to the commissioners' meetings, that we can do this any better than what you're doing it. But again, we go back to the basic thing. We have to have dialogue. Whether that dialogue is going to be in person, or whether it's going to be by phone, or whether it's going to be by email or text, the people have to be heard. And they have to be, more importantly, they have to be listened to. We can't agree with everybody on everything, but everybody is entitled to an opinion. It's very important that we allow and have those people speak. I'm concerned on the transparency side of this, of where they're only given a minute or two, or whatever the case may be, or the board makes a unilateral decision to cut people off because they don't want to hear anything more about that particular discussion. It's communication.
Well, I'm going to talk about something that happened. We were fighting to open up Nye County. We were fighting against the mask mandates and such. And under Commissioner Strickland's run as chair, this did happen a lot. That, we were on agenda item 30 something or whatever, and all these people showed up, took the days off, or said they were going into work late. And it was never brought up because of the crowd. And it changed though, so Commissioner Strickland did start doing it after some backlash that was happening. And like I said, this is the way it should be. It shows respect. A commissioner is not the ruler, a commissioner is a public servant, and they need to serve those people that show up at the meetings. Thanks.
Rebuttal?
I think the biggest thing about being a commissioner is that you're constantly learning. I didn't feel a backlash, but I always thought that you needed to go for 10 o'clock items or heard first, because that's what it says, 10 o'clock items. So I went with that, not knowing any better, when I became chair. And then it was apparent that these larger groups were just, disseminating because they couldn't stay. And so all that changed. And so, hey, everybody learns, right?
That's loud, but okay.
It works.
It did. I set it down immediately.
That's 30 seconds and that's enough.
I didn't even see you.
Is there any other rebuttal?
You don't get it for rebuttal. You don't get the flag for rebuttal. It's always been so.
Okay. We have a couple questions that are kind of around the same thing, and that's mostly for access with commissioners, talking to commissioners, and being able to express, the public being able to express their questions or concerns. So I'm going to try to combine how interesting
we fix it, and wait for the next one to pop up.
William? What's working and what's not?
What is working? Well, it looks like County Board of Commissioners, it does work for the most part. What doesn't work? For me, this would fall back upon individual departments, certain things that are not working that need to be corrected. I'm going to have to pass on this. Basically, I just don't know where to begin or end on that.
As I'm not a commissioner yet. What's working? The people. I agree with Deborah. Absolutely, the people work. As long as you actually tell them, no, that's not how this works. You have to go through A, B, C, and D. They're fine. They're absolutely, and then they want to get involved with the local politics, which I think is amazing. Everybody needs to talk to their neighbor about it and not hate each other for it. No diversity. The things that aren't working, I have no idea. I really don't. Not as a commissioner. I just think that the commission has to bring in the Constitution and only vote, parallel with the Constitution. And then the different departments that have issues or financial issues or what have you, then let's get those fixed.
All right, any rebuttals?
I would just ask everyone here, what are the problems? You're the one that's experiencing them. You're the ones that are having them. Have they been conveyed to the County Board of Commissioners or where they need to go? We only hear it on the surface. Out there, you're the people that are living with these issues and problems.
Any other rebuttals? All right, we have a 1-minute closing statement for each candidate. Let's start with.
Commissioner Strickland.
So I told you.
I'm just a lucky one. Well, we're fortunate that all of you have come out and shown an interest in government. You've shown an interest in what's going on here in your own community. And this is grassroots, and you should be proud of yourselves. Because it's not easy. You could be sitting in front of the TV or doing something fun with your kids or grandkids. Thank you for coming out. We're glad to have had you.
William?
I would thank everyone that has come. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'll just leave with this one thing. A vote for me is a vote for you.
I just want to remind everybody who I am and what I've done. So my experiences are with, we got rid of the solar farms. That was me, and the residents. We also opened up 9 counties, rural counties, once this like shut us down. We got rid of all the mandates, the masks, the vaccines, and the passports, because we are Americans and we can choose what's best for ourselves and our families. And it might be different than your neighbors, but that's the American way. I will want to continue my work as a commissioner. I've proven myself for the last 3 years that I'm a Nye County girl, and I want to make sure that everybody gets heard. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. All right, we're going to take a break. I guess Joe's going to contact you guys.
All right, I want to thank the commissioners that are here tonight. We have Frank Carboni who came in.